Warning, this game has offensive stuff. You were warned. Alright, welcome everyone. This is Tiny Bunny. This is going to be somewhat of a psychological horror, possibly. I didn't really read too much of the description because I wanted to find out for myself. It looked really cool. And look at that bunny right there. That's some good art. So let's do this. For a mature audience only. The wind clawed at my window all night. I wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, a creaky old mind of building that had seen in its last days. It was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thick gazed back with hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves. There was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Episode 1. The Owl Will Arrive. Okay. I'm vibing. Got some kids there.
Книгу немедленно.
Hey, put your book away.
Сколько раз говорила, не читай за столом, вредно. Сидишь, сутулился весь.
How many times have I told you not to read that at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. I didn't expect her to be voice acting. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. My man! I was stuck on the line I couldn't understand after seeing it 3 times anyways. Oya had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials.
Пока не съешь, из-за стола не встанешь.
You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. Well, damn. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy, anxious, swelled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder and lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Kastu Odyssey. I love that show. I don't know how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is that night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes.
Что я говорила?
What did I just say?
Я достану.
I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this, carved on the other side of the table? Karina. Ha, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I had did something similar though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age chilling under this cable. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? Ah, it's Baba Yaga! I mean, it's an old lady. I imagine my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting on the edge of her bed, with Olia sleeping out of the days, and saying this is where her soft, smooth voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground. And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. There were times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in on one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket. She called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They all had dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. You did that all from under a table? Damn, kid. Oya was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze toward the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture of the glass.
Оля, гляди,
A raccoon!
лиса.
Or a fox, yeah, a fox. I knew that. Yeah.
Где?
It looked almost like those optical illusions thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at the first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain angle,
Да не на улице.
not
на
outside,
стекле.
on the window.
Смотри, вот нос,
Look,
вот.
here's the nose and here's...
Ну-ка, доедай.
Hey, eat up.
Да, да, сейчас.
Yes, yes, just a moment.
Я ничего не
I don't
вижу.
see anything.
Живо.
Hurry up,
Совсем
there's not much
немного.
left.
Вот.
There it is, but it
Но
still
всё
doesn't look
равно
like
не
one.
похоже. А я говорю,
And I'm
похоже.
telling you, it does. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh.
Похоже.
It does.
Прекратите.
Stop it, these kids,
Ну
I
что за
swear.
дети?
Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared, went away. Only frosty patterns similar to stretched out little nettle leaves kept creeping up on the grass. Uh-oh, it's Papa Bear. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Oya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point in all of this, though?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply. "For the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken in two different families.
Да что твоя лиса?
Anyway, the
Вот
fox
у
is
меня
nothing.
на
I have an
окне
owl on my
сова.
window.
Опять ты со своей...
You and your owl talk again.
Так ты же
You said you
вчера
believed
мне
me just
верил.
yesterday. Has
Никто
anybody
ключи от
seen
машины
my
не
car
видел?
keys?
Вроде
I
оставлял
remember
на
leaving them on the
подоконнике.
windowsill.
Вроде.
Right.
Вроде оставлял.
Maybe you did,
Вроде нет.
and maybe not.
Вроде взрослый мужчина.
You're a grown man,
Отец
a father of
двоих
two,
детей,
and still.
Перестань, пожалуйста, Карина.
Please stop.
Дай мне спокойно собраться.
Just let me get ready in peace.
В корзине
Your
твои
keys are in the
ключи,
basket
возле
near the
телефона.
phone.
Огромное тебе
Well, thank you very
человеческое
much.
спасибо. Антон, ешь быстрее, а то как
Anton,
мученик
stop making a
сидишь.
martyr out of yourself and finish eating already.
А сова?
But the owl.
Не было
There
там
was no
никакой
owl.
совы.
Была.
But there was one.
Глазюки
It had
огромные.
giant glowing
И
eyes.
светят.
Oya sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on the little face, imitating a pair of eyes with fingers the size of an apple each. A little sidetrack over here. This is awesome. Just all of it. The detail, the characters. I really like how it's all in black and white. I really find that pretty cool. Anywho,
В прошлом году баба
last
в
year you
шкафу.
had Baba
Сейчас
in
сова.
your closet, and now this owl.
Но я же видела.
But I saw it. Oya shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support.
А ты не думала
Have you thought
подружиться
about
с ней, нет?
befriending it?
Вымышленными
You know, like feeding it
мышами
with
покормить,
imaginary
например.
mice?
Не подначивай ребенка.
Don't bully our girl.
Просто малая.
She's
еще.
just afraid to
И
sleep
спать
alone
одна
because she's
боится.
still little. Oya powdered her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, he's in the doghouse. Oh, that look in her eyes is so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored in an incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad had already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room and was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Oya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn and curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off the Cartoons helped to take her mind off the troubles we had with the move-in and our parents. Oh, haha, oh, hey there. And then Oya said she saw a giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Oya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that Diao was just one of her nightmares. After last night, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? So he's seeing them now too? That night I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect with my new school. There were a couple of days left before beginning of the new term. My imagination drew long twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, pairs of eyes blinked inside of their holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat, black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Will they gang up on me and beat me down? Stop on me with their bloody shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. It doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who are just itching to smack me on the head, trip me, think of new offensive names for me, worse than previous one. I felt like the glasses I made were an outsider or some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Oya begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying it in a code voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around. Anton is not around." I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was a silent and easy-going during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners and the closets of cobwebs and under the stairs, but they all woke up during night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if old photos of my diseased family with their ashen eyes were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic occupied with noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed with the sound of wind and creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing in it, amidst the cold snowy night, right? What the? Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome animation there. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out, with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in the moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around and crawled all over the floor, on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled and holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly, the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear pierced through my gaze. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Oh shit! It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until the black shadow of my house became... My heart was jumping around like a bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent offered to wash over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to the unwanted guests more and scraping around looking for an entrance. That sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed, covered myself with a blanket as if it could protect me. Shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral of my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up and head pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. On the island of Brienne, underneath the blanched sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. Evil leave this house must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out under the blanket and saw curtains weaving around like a hanged man. And the night doubts me with new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone was scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at the wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placed on the chin between them. I drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the night of darkness. And then... the doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway once, twice, as if a person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear, my wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind talked to me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now, you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of the doorway. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved to come out from the gaping black hole. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief.
Оля, я не сплю. Что случилось?
I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Oya frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry. It's there again, staring at me. Shoo her away. Please. I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Oya down. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Oya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me, but I was sure myself. I have an idea.
Пойдем
Let's go to
к тебе в
your room
комнату,
and watch the
Вид
video.
посмотрим.
Sleeping
Спящую
Beauty,
красавицу.
for example.
Тебе же нравится эта
You like that
муть?
cartoon, don't you?
Почему
Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? That question took me by surprise.
Ладно, давай
Alright,
посмотрим Золушку.
let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing fiercely under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chance. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Ты идешь?
Dosha, you coming?
Да, сейчас.
Yes, just a moment.
Oh, shit!
Thanks for the jump scare, asshole. Grr. Oh shit. That was cool. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Oya and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guests could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Oya always hides. Tosha, come here. I felt the kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them toward the hallway. Who is this? The police? A couple policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars. Worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused.
Здравствуйте.
Hello? The senior officer who wore a grim expression nodded.
Тут мальчик вчера
A
потерялся.
boy had gone
Вовой
missing
зовут.
yesterday. His name's Vova.
Глянь, пожалуйста.
Look at
Ты
this,
его не
please.
видел?
Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile.
Нет.
No, I haven't.
Точно?
Are you sure? Look
Посмотри
closely.
внимательнее.
Где мне его видеть?
Where would I see him?
Я
I don't
тут
know
никого не
anyone around
знаю.
here. I
Да
barely
из
leave the
дома-то
house.
почти не выхожу.
А может, видел
Well,
в
maybe
окно?
you've seen him from the window.
Да. У
That's
тебя
right.
лицо
Your windows
провалилось.
look straight at the forest, don't they? The window.
Нет, не видел.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Ясно.
I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare long and heavy, full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some
Вы,
reason.
кстати, как на новом месте?
How do you like the new
Попривыкли
place,
уже?
by the way? Getting used to it?
Понемногу.
Bit by
Только
bit.
дочка маленькая
It's just
по
our little
городу
daughter
скучает.
misses the city a lot.
Скучает, значит.
Misses the
Из
city, huh?
местных вас никто
Have the
не
locals been
беспокоит?
treating you well?
Все хорошо, спасибо.
Yes, everything's alright. Thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his gray eyes. My head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy and to this unpleasant conversation sooner.
Я вот стою и думаю,
Now that I think about it,
ты малец
you
на
look just
племеша
like
моего
one of my
похож.
nephews, little fella.
Шустрый парнишка,
He's a witty
твоих
boy
лет.
around your age,
С
wears the
такими же
same type of
окулярами.
goggles.
Все книжками зачитывался. Детективы.
Always engrossed in reading those mystery
Когда
novels.
летом погостить
Told me he
приезжал,
wants to enroll in a police
говорит,
school when
что
his
в школу
family visited
милиции
this summer.
мечтает поступить. Как я. Хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
Wanted to help other people, just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before
Ох, ребятушки.
me. You know what?
Сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что. Жизнь сейчас совсем другая пошла.
Little boys like you should stay at home, steer away from trouble. Times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
You don't say.
Ну да ладно.
Ah, well then.
Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
What grade are you in,
В
Anton?
6.
6.
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не завел?
Have you made any friends here so far?
Пока нет.
Not
Я
yet.
только после каникул в школу пойду.
I'll be going to school for the first time after the break.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если если узнаете что.
Ah, then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone along with their shadows and the smell of cheap cologne and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him, being all alone. There. Oh, got a little top on the stairs there. That's cool. The cross. For some reason, yeah. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I had gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу
Mom,
заблудился?
this Vova, did he go missing in our
Выходит,
forest?
что так.
Seems like
Бедный
it,
ребенок.
poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police, UAZ, drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spent on suspicious people. And after a set of amazing adventures, bam! Solved any complicated case. They became a local celebrity, and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed the trail of policemen's footprints and led to the forest. And then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Oya will be so happy. And not only Oya, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Oya Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. And a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had just lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had a little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate between me and Oya. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out, looking for
Пойду
clues.
погуляю.
I'm going outside.
Ага.
Yeah,
щас.
right.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам
You
ходили.
want the police to go around with your photograph next?
Лес вон какой густой.
The forest is so thick.
А если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals or something even worse? Even worse, echoed throughout the hallway.
Да я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest.
Что я тебе сказала?
Did
Мне
you
дважды
hear what I
повторять.
said, or should I repeat myself?
Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
Better go pack your school bag or play with Oya. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. Let's see what's in here. What's in here? Dark, stuffy closet. Mom says it smells like mice, but how would she know what their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Oya can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Baba is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned it on the dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools, and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. And I like to hide in a closet and listen to Oya counting outside. 1, 2, 3. Better hide for me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. What's in here? Grandma kept ice cream for me and Oya there, but now I can only see meat bits from soup and clumped together pelami. I grew to hate them already. What is this? What? The cross had seen so many people come in and go in the house. It was black as if it absorbed all human sin from the long years it has been hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, Mom was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in its place as a lucky charm, but she cut herself with the cross. Sharp corner and almost fell from the stepladder. Dad called it a sign from above and ordered the cross to be left alone in its rightful place. My parents prohibit me from making long-distance calls, but from time to time I really want to hear my old friends. Sometimes I would just pick up the phone, listen to the low hum of the zoomer and distant crackling, imagine the wind howling in the ice. I'll whip you if you make a single step out that door. Okay, damn, sorry. My bad, Mom, my bad. I'm gonna go light a mom. I'm gonna go light a mom. It was difficult to light a mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from home.
Мам, там что-то с телевизором
Mom, something's wrong
случилось.
with the TV.
Картинка какая-то
The picture is
тусклая,
dim
и
and there are
экран весь
stripes all
в
over the
полосах.
screen. Mom's face became visibly distorted.
Без ножа меня режешь.
Ah, you're
Настрелял
killing me
животных
here.
своих.
So, have you had enough of shooting those stupid ducks now?
Говорила же,
told you
посадите
the
мне кинескоп
kind
своей
scope-
приставкой.
Will go dim because of your console.
Где мы теперь мастера найдем в дыре этой, а?
Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh?
Может быть, просто
Maybe
настройки
it's just the
сдвинуть?
settings.
Сходи, посмотри,
Please, go
пожалуйста.
see for yourself. Strange.
Нормально же
It worked
работает
fine
с утра.
in the morning.
Из-за снегопада, наверное,
Maybe the snowfall caused it. Mom rubbed her hands clean on her apron and went to Olya's room. I opened the front gate and went into the field. Carefully so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half the distance and toward the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remember my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head all of its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there. Distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling in the snow alongside me. And a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent I felt the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olya. The time reached its limit, a one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was more scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olya turned to stone, listening to them. But then, always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing or spent time together, almost like it was in a previous life. When they kissed with Olya present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day, it all changed. Something important had left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke out, and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead cold eyes, who sometimes visited us in our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worms and a black ground on everything? And somewhere far away, a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and I looked around. There was only me, this white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and carnivorous needles. Am I saying that right? Carnivorous? Needles frozen to ice. Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. It was a glove. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow, and when I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? Their senior officer looked gloomy. but he still reminded me of the Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. He was also anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Would this man help them find the lost boy? Vova! I heard a distant shout, looking like it came from the river. Vova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there, behind the trees, hiding. Vova! I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still. Something was unsettling about that figure. Its stillness, how it bent unnaturally toward the ground. Its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all just my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wing loudly. A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but then when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. My muscles were tightly sprung, my heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket and I sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Oh, this is a choice, isn't it? Let's take the mitten. Let's go for it. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Oh, shit! Vova. A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved in the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. I stepped toward the bristly trees and tried to claim my find. It didn't budge. I pulled harder, the branch cracked. The branch at the minute and tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound. All too heavy, wet. It squeezed without thinking and something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. It was blood. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. The sounds of cracking branches invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of a reason. It gave me strength and spurred me on. You can't do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. It felt like a sound had come from a pack of honey beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped above my head, and an enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot. A wheeze. The wars were coming from all directions now. From the dried and raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. It felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became vicious like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap that just be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out from the hole. My soles were in a hard surface again. I reached the clear path with one jump, and from there, ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. That house was my line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings and creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks. As if a dog was striking the widow with its paws, the bandit would be let in so we could escape the code. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was much louder than my surroundings. I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in our front yard and Mom had locked the door? Drowning in fear, I pulled the doorknob and it obediently gave away. I rode in the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into a place. I gritted my teeth, pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of a pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and crashed at me in waves. Smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastised me with some frigid voice she always used when talking to Dad.
Что конкретно тебе не ясно в просьбе не хлопай дверьми?
What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door?
Я случайно.
I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. A smell was gone, and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, mere 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, mounting like snow in spring, and with this last bit of strength I had left in my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mass of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked at the same as before I held its corals. She finally saw my condition. My wet pants splashed with
Ты где
snow.
был?
Where have
Я
you
тебе
been?
что говорила?
What did I tell you, huh?
Чтобы ты дома
I
сидел.
told you to stay home.
Я и для тебя пустое место.
Am I nothing to you? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was very little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice
У
rang
отца
out.
сигареты пропали.
Your dad can't find his cigarettes.
Признавайся, ты их стащил?
Be honest.
Курить бегаешь?
Did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret?
Там
There-
за мной
There was someone
кто-то
chasing me.
гнался.
I thought. I shuddered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned toward me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked in the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant and she covered her mouth with her hand.
Гляди, вон же они.
Look over there, at the fence. My heart started thumping as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I heard something scratch at the door, just like my neighbor. My nightmare, not my neighbor. Mom beckoned me with her finger and I gathered all the remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window, facing my fear. I could barely discern my hairy silhouette swimming in the snow through the icy winter patterns in the glass. Dogs. There's a small pack of strays with no name or owner, barely reminding me of the hungry monster that lived at the edge of the forest.
Божечки,
Oh boy,
ты их
were you
испугался?
scared of them?
Да они сами
I think
тебя
they'd rather be
напугают,
scared of you,
Антон.
Anton.
Они гнались за мной,
They were chasing
словно
me
за зайцем.
like a bunny.
А вдруг они бешеные?
And what if they were rabid? The smile had slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it were her first time seeing
Что
them.
если они нападут на Олю?
What if they attacked Oya?
Мам,
Mom,
Вот бы твой отец их всех
I
перестрелял.
wish your dad could just shoot them all.
мама, они живые.
Mom, look, they're
А
alive.
что?
Huh?
Ты
What?
уж определись? Они тебе друзья или враги?
And if you're friend or foe after all, make up your mind.
Не маленький ведь уже.
You're not a little kid anymore. He's 12. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life amongst monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this? Mitten. Of course. A dark, sticky mitten that belonged to the lost boy made a squishy sound in my hand. Sounds like it was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom.
Мам, смотри, это Вовина варежка. Ну того, про которого утром милиция
That boy the
спрашивала.
police were asking about in the morning.
Она вся в
It's
крови.
drenched in blood, and I
На
found it hanging
дереве
on a tree.
Вон там, могу
I
показать.
can show where.
Давай в милицию скорее позвони.
Let's call the police
Как
right
нас
away, like the
участковый
officer had
просил.
told us
Мам,
to.
гляди.
Mom, look.
Фу.
Eel. A shadow of doubt slowly crept onto my mom's contorted face, as if she was trying to remember something distant, like someone tries to remember their dream, but the images slip away.
А ну-ка прекрати сейчас же.
Stop it this
Оля
moment.
тебя услышит, с ума
Oya will
сойдет.
go insane if she hears
Она и
you.
так не спит.
She already
На
has
всё
trouble
подряд
sleeping
жалуется.
once all the time.
Еще и ты со своими шуточками.
And you joke around like this? At that moment, I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment.
Иди сюда, паникер.
Come here, my boy who cried
Да
wolf.
не стой столбом.
Oh, don't just stand there.
Быстро
Come,
пей.
take your pills. Pills? 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 Is he schizophrenic? Golden colored pill, reminiscent of a dead wasp, fell into my
Я
palm.
уже пил сегодня, за завтраком.
I already took one during breakfast.
Попререкайся мне.
Don't talk over me.
Сказала дома сидеть. Нет же.
I told you to stay home, and you,
Был бы отец, выпорол.
Dad would have given you a good whooping for that.
Сейчас же выпей, а то ночью не уснешь. Тебе ведь в школу завтра.
Come on, take it, or you won't be able to sleep at night. And you have school tomorrow. So I swallowed the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Volva's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. Just like a forest of monsters. And Oya's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had an immediate effect or my overexerted brain didn't let the fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing a yawning indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил?
Anton, you done?
Можешь, если захочешь.
See, you can do it when you try.
Раздевайся. Уснул, что ли?
Take off your coat. Are you asleep?
Нет, мам, просто
No.
задумался.
Mom, I was just thinking.
Интересно, о чем же?
What about, I wonder?
Так,
It's just
глупости
something silly.
всякие.
Mom scrutinizing me with suspicious eyes. As if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest.
Точно все нормально?
Is everything alright?
У тебя такое лицо было, когда милиционер про окно спросил.
You had the same exact expression when the policeman asked you about the window.
Все нормально, мам.
I'm alright, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh.
Хорошо.
Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The lights also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Oya was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episodes and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes and stopped before the sink and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar's and Lago's voices died down. I walked past Oya's bedroom and slipped into my own. What? She's hiding behind the curtain. Entangled tree branches in the distance and the snowy field opened our house and the forest brought its sleepiness to my eyes. Sometimes I would still catch myself looking out the window at the icy treetops instead of doing my homework. One of my drawers was empty. I hid a mitten in there. Where are you, Volva? This simple action drained the last bit of my strength from me. I sat on the bed. And only then I noticed there was someone behind the curtains. I saw it before, you guy. My tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to medication or I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort as if it was wind blowing the walls like a pair of sails. The corners of the room bent and out undulated. The only stable thing in the whole room was the figure between the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth that stuck behind the visitor. It reminded me of the burial sheets.
Оля,
Oh yeah. Who else would be standing there? I stood up and licked my dried up
Оля,
lips.
очень
Yeah.
смешно.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. The silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped softly by the curtains, as if it was a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached toward the curtains. Budum, budum, beat my heart, controlled by medication. The wind singing in the field of the chorus of voices. For a second, I wanted to return to bed, just down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking back at me. They were looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep. Plastic rings rustled against the holder when I pulled up the curtains.
Попался!
Gotcha!
Да я сразу
I
понял,
knew
что
it was you
это
from the
ты.
beginning. A blindingly bright halo lit up above Olya's head, with the setting sun as the background. My sister was shiny, When she was just a baby, Dad always used to say she was shining with happiness. She always retorted, "But Dad, she's not some flashlight." Oh, I always retorted. But I brought her to the window one day and sunlight poured out her smiling face. I felt like I was holding a light woven child.
А я все видела.
I saw everything.
Да ну,
Oh, really?
Что ты спрятал?
What did you hide? She was just like my mom when she was little, before she put on her sad mask of tiredness and switched to her commanding tone of voice.
ничего, просто...
It's nothing, just... Oya ran up to the table, her eyes round, and asked,
Ты что-то украл.
"You stole
и
something and hid it
прячешь.
there.
Ты вор?
Are you a thief?"
Что?
What? Don't be
Глупая.
stupid.
Ничего я не крал.
I didn't steal anything. A clear image came to mind. That mitten hanging from a tree branch. What if I did steal it after all? From the forest, from the tilted figure standing behind black trees? Oya could be selfish and stubborn when she wanted.
Покажи тогда.
Then show me.
Поклянись, что
Swear
никому
that
не
you won't
скажешь.
tell anyone.
Тогда покажу.
Then I'll show you. Oya wore a plotting smile.
Клянусь маминым сердцем.
I swear on Mom's heart. An oath she heard in one of the movies about the pioneers we watched.
Не говори так.
Don't say things like that. Oya nodded and made a gesture with her hand, locking her mouth with an imaginary key. She was filled with curiosity that was flashing in her giant eyes. I opened a drawer and Oya leaned in, holding her breath. It looked like there was not just a simple mitten, but some sort of exotic critter.
Это
Is this
чья-то
someone's mitten?
варежка?
She said as if she couldn't understand what she saw.
Один мальчик потерял.
A certain boy
И
lost
сам
it,
потерялся.
and I got lost himself.
Теперь понимаешь, как опасно гулять в лесу?
Now, do you
Особенно
understand how
детям.
dangerous it is for kids to wander into the forest, right?
Ему,
He must be
наверное,
really
там
cold out
очень
there.
холодно. Его найдут?
Will they find him?
Обязательно.
They will.
Участковый по домам
But the
ходит,
police are going
всем
to the house,
фотографии его
showing his
показывают.
photo to everybody. Oya traversed the room with care and pressed her tiny palms against the window.
А почему он по домам
And why are they
ходит,
going
а
to
не по
houses
лесу?
and not the forest?
Боится?
Are they scared? The question caught me off guard.
Милиционеры ничего
Police
не
aren't scared of
боятся.
anything.
И лес они прочесали.
They've already scouted the forest. Yeah, right? Flashed. Yeah, right. Flashed in my clouded mind. Did they really check every nook and cranny where darkness, cold, and whispers of icy branches dwell? If that's the case, how did they miss the mitten? Or did it appear later? For me. I changed the topic, as if trying to get Oya as far away as possible from the forest thicket.
Если я сам найду пропавшего мальчика, нам, может, награду дадут.
We may get rewarded if I go and find this boy by myself.
Кучу всякого, как в поле чудес.
A lot of stuff, like the Wheel of Fortune.
Клево же.
Sounds cool, right? Oya wasn't listening to me. She was piercing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic of her.
А что, если эта сова его утащила?
What if the owl got him?
Ерунда.
Nonsense.
Не может
An
сам
owl won't be
поднять
able to
человека.
lift a human.
Ну вот что.
But you know what? I was picking my words with utmost care. I forced them out with my overexerted brain.
Ты в лес не суйся.
Stay away
Мне
from the
кажется, он
forest. I
какой-то,
think it's...
как бы сказать,
How should I put it?
проклятый, что
It's
ли.
cursed or something.
Как в сказке?
Just like a fairy tale?
Нет, скорее,
No,
как
more
в
like
той
that
страшной
spooky
кассете,
tape our
что
parents
родители
hide from
прячут.
us. Oya shivered and stole a glance at the window.
Я видела, как ты убегал.
I saw you running away.
За тобой кто-то
Someone was
гнался?
chasing you?
Нет, просто...
No, it's just
чтобы мама
I was
не
hurrying back home
волновалась,
so
спешил
mom
домой.
won't be worried. As I looked at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She was so fragile. It was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind, and her small fire would be gone.
Хорошо тебе.
You're lucky.
Меня вот мама
Mom
не
won't even let me
пускает
go
даже
outside.
как принцесса в
I'm like a
башне
princess in the tower.
сидеть.
Can't
Никуда
go
не могу
anywhere.
выйти. Так и умру тут от скуки.
I'll die from boredom here.
Не придумывай.
You're wrong.
От скуки еще никто не умирал.
No one has ever died of boredom. I don't know. People have died from sadness. It's possible.
У тебя же есть я и мультики, а мама с папой скоро помирятся.
And you have me and your cartoons, and mom and dad will be good to each other soon.
Знаешь, что бы
You
я
know what?
загадала на следующий день рождения?
I wish for on my next birthday,
Чтобы родители тоже в детей превратились. И мы бы все вместе играли, как раньше.
I'd wish for mom and dad to turn into children so we could go play together like we used to.
Ага. А если бы они стали размером с жука, то мы бы их в спичечный коробок посадили.
Yeah, and if you make them as small as bugs, we can place them in a little box. Oh yeah, giggled and tugged back my sleeve.
Тоша, пойдем Аладдина
Tosha, let's go
смотреть.
watch Aladdin. Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was watched over by some sort of heinous apathy.
Вымотался я.
I'm too tired.
Что-то не
I don't wanna.
хочется.
Ну пойдем.
Come on.
Мне скучно
It's so
одной, а
boring
мама
alone,
занята
and mom's
всё
always
время.
busy.
Можно выбрать другой мультик, который ты еще не видел.
We can pick a cartoon you haven't seen before.
Да я все наши кассеты наизусть знаю.
I know all of our tapes by heart at this
А вот
point.
и не все. Ты Питера Пэна не видел.
Not all of them. You haven't watched Peter
Помнишь,
Pan.
ты уснул на середине?
Remember how you fell asleep in the middle of it?
А там потом такое. Ну пойдем. Пойдем.
And so much happens after that. Let's go. Let's go.
Давай попозже.
Maybe a bit later.
Рассказать тебе, чем все закончилось?
Should I tell you how it ends?
Утром расскажешь.
Let's leave it for tomorrow.
Утром не захочу.
I won't tell you tomorrow.
Придумала. А давай в прятки.
I know. Let's play hide and seek. Oh, how long have I been playing this? Almost an hour? I think I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching and hearing me read this whole thing. So far, the game's really interesting. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments, and put a like on the video. See you in the next one.
You're damn right I killed him!